Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch AM from Graham. Ahead today, the FBI raiding former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. The search, a part of an investigation of the former president, in a move that represents an unprecedented escalation of law enforcement scrutiny of the former president. The Democrats' new spending bill adding 87,000 employees and $80 billion to the IRS. Critics warn that's going to mean more audits and not just the wealthy.
If you look at the past, the audits disproportionately impact those that are middle class, upper middle class, income earners. Those are the ones that get targeted.
We'll have a look at the impact on Americans' wallets. California lawmakers pushing legislation to become a sanctuary state for children who want to get transgender medical treatment, even without parents' permission.
It makes California the refuge for all children who want to get access to any type of gender interventions. No questions asked.
Parents are speaking out against the bill, but other states are planning similar measures. A former House Intelligence Committee chairman believes COVID-19 was engineered in a Wuhan lab and deliberately unleashed on the world.
When you research the virus scientifically, you understand very clearly that this thing did not evolve out of nature. There's a lot of evidence that says most likely this came out of the lab.
We'll hear why he believes China could be using it as biowarfare. And worship leader and author Sean Feucht tells CBN News about the new documentary on the Let's Worship movement.
I want people to feel like empowered to know that even when they face resistance, and even actually sometimes the resistance is the very thing that proves that you're on your way to a breakthrough. Jesus calls us into places where we're going to face resistance. And it's
those stories today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this half hour with the FBI raid on former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida last night, reportedly as part of an investigation into whether he took classified records from the White House to his Florida residence. The move, a major and unprecedented escalation of the government scrutiny of Trump. One former FBI agent says the public may never know what's in the sealed affidavit.
What was alleged in the affidavit bears out, meaning they retrieved that evidence. It is possible that criminal charges could be filed against the president.
The Justice Department had no comment on the search, while Trump's allies and other Republicans blasted the action, calling it the weaponization of the Justice Department as well as political persecution.
All of a sudden, on no notice, they sent 20 cars and 30 agents. Sean, I mean, this is just more political persecution of Donald J. Trump.
The former president posted online that the search was the weaponization of the justice system and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024. And one of Trump's possible opponents in 2024, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, tweeted, "The raid of Mar-a-Lago is another escalation in the weaponization of federal agencies against the regime's political opponents, while people like Hunter Biden get treated with kid gloves." A House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said if Republicans win Congress this fall, they will investigate the Justice Department. DeSantis and other Republicans also warned the Democrats about the Democrats' plan to add $80 billion more to fund the IRS. It's part of their new tax and spending bill, which the administration insists will collect more from corporate and high-income tax cheats. But many experts say the plan is going to reach far beyond wealthy Americans. Tara Mergener is on this story.
Congressional Democrats are on the cusp of doubling the size of the Internal Revenue Service. The administration says the plan is aimed at wealthy tax dodgers, but critics charge the changes will also hit the middle class with more audits. The massive expansion includes doubling the IRS's current workforce with 87,000 new workers, employing more people than the Pentagon, State Department, FBI, and Border Patrol combined, with an annual budget increase of about 600%. Republicans are sounding the alarm.
Why?
not to improve taxpayer service. Only 4% of the money goes to improving taxpayer service. This goes to allowing the IRS to harass businesses across this country.
The Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
Expanding the agency is a key part of Democrats' reconciliation package just passed in the Senate.
And I am really confident that the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining feats of the 21st century.
According to the Congressional Budget Office, a beefed-up IRS would haul in an estimated $200 billion in revenue over the next 10 years. While advocates applaud the move, some say Biden may end up breaking a campaign promise.
Joe Biden said he would not raise taxes on anybody making under $400,000 a year. And technically, while the bill doesn't call for that, it could have the effect of doing exactly that.
Contrary to Democrats' claims that audits will target millionaires and billionaires, a nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation study shows more than 75% of the money raised from underreported income would likely come from those making less than $200,000. Less than 10% would come from those making more than $500,000.
If you look at the past, the audits disproportionately impact those that are middle class, upper middle class, income earners. Those are the ones that get targeted by this.
In Washington, Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Coming up, California could become a sanctuary state for children who want to get transgender medical treatment, even if their parents don't give their permission. We'll explain what's happening with that possible legislation when we come back. California is pushing legislation to become a sanctuary state for children who want to get transgender medical treatment even without their parents' permission. The bill would make California a legal destination for children who want to make their sex changes permanent, and other states are considering similar measures. Heather Sells is on this story.
California lawmakers could open a gateway for out-of-state children to receive hormones, puberty blockers, and even surgery if this legislation passes. The stated goal: protect kids from states like Texas that consider those procedures to be abuse. Critics counter this move would not only harm children, it would sever parents' rights.
Any child who comes here for those services, their parents would be almost powerless to stop them.
Jonathan Keller with the California Family Council says the bill would legally emancipate kids from other states.
It would remove the ability of parents to come and rescue their kids.
California State Senator Scott Wiener is the bill's sponsor.
Parents are being threatened with criminalization.
He says the bill is intended to provide a safe place for families who want hormones or surgery for their kids.
These parents who are just trying to do right by their kids and accepting their kids for who they are.
The state assembly's analysis, however, shows this legislation goes further. It provides that a California family court has temporary emergency jurisdiction if the child is present in this state and has been abandoned, or because the child has been unable to obtain gender-affirming health care.
I'm Ted Hudako from
During a hearing in Sacramento last month, parents stood in line in order to speak out against the bill. A 17-year-old who regrets getting puberty blockers and surgery testified that she felt pressure.
I was medically transitioned from ages 13 to 16.
And said professionals told her parents she could commit suicide unless they let her transition. Attorney Aaron Friday calls the bill unconstitutional.
It makes California the refuge for all children who want to get access to any type of gender interventions. No questions asked.
Lawmakers in New York and Minnesota have introduced similar bills, and legislators in 16 other states plan to go the same route. The California effort does face a deadline. Lawmakers have until the end of August to make a decision on the bill. That's when their legislative session ends. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Still ahead, a former House Intelligence Committee chairman believes COVID-19 was engineered in a Wuhan lab and deliberately unleashed on the world. And he's not alone. 60% of Americans want China held accountable. We'll have that story for you when we come back. It's been more than 2 years since the start of the COVID pandemic, and experts still can't agree on the origins of the virus. Now, a growing number of Americans, including a former House Intelligence Committee chairman, believe it started in a lab in China. They also think the Chinese Communist Party deliberately spread it around the world. Gary Lane brings us that story.
A recent study by a group of scientists, former defense officials, and intelligence officers determined the COVID-19 virus came from a Wuhan, China lab. This group, known as Team B3, went further, saying the Chinese Communist Party intentionally unleashed it on the world. Those findings and more appear in the new book, The CCP is at War with America, from the Center for Security Policy. Former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Peter Hoekstra is one of the authors.
When you research the virus scientifically, you understand very clearly that this thing did not evolve out of nature. There's a lot of evidence that says most likely this came out of the lab.
Not from tainted bat meat in a Wuhan wet market, Hoekstra insists. Chief Medical Advisor to the President, Dr. Anthony Fauci, disagrees. He says when highly rated and competent virologists looked at the virus carefully, they determined that COVID-19 evolved naturally. Also in late July, Journal Science published research showing that the virus originated in the Wuhan wet market, not in the lab. Brian Kennedy, chairman of the Committee on the Present Danger China, doubts the validity of that research.
I think we're living in an age of real disinformation, where people throw out these studies without conclusive evidence, but they say that there is a study, and it's all just kind of a big con. And it really is unbecoming of a free people to accept this nonsense.
And more Americans are rejecting studies that suggest a natural origin to the virus. A new national poll commissioned by the Committee on the Present Danger China shows 60% of adults questioned believe the Chinese Communist Party deliberately unleashed the COVID virus.
More people saying it doesn't mean there's more evidence of it. Now, we always must, and I'll be very official about this, you keep an open mind to any possibility. And I have been of that bent from the very beginning.
Open minds have led to altered views about COVID-19. Although the World Health Organization initially supported China's claim that the virus originated from diseased bat meat in a Chinese wet market, today, nearly 3 years later, the WHO and Jeffrey Sachs of the Lancet Commission believe COVID-19 originated in that Wuhan lab. Also, former CDC Director Robert Redfield has changed his thinking. He now believes the virus may have been manipulated in the lab. He suggests that it became one of the most lethal known to man because it was, quote, educated how to infect human tissue. Hoekstra and members of the Plan B group also conclude the virus was engineered. But did China intentionally spread the virus around the world? Kennedy thinks the timing of the pandemic is more than a coincidence. He says it began shortly after aspects of Donald Trump's Phase 1 trade agreement with China kicked in.
Within 6 months, this virus spreads from Wuhan, China, to the rest of the world, most directly at the United States. They let flights go from Wuhan to the rest of the world, knowing that this virus would spread. They did that on purpose, intentionally. Now, if that's not an act of biowarfare, I'm not sure what is.
The virus wrecked the U.S. economy and killed more than 1 million Americans. The same McLaughlin poll commissioned by Kennedy's organization found that 60% of American adults want China held accountable. Hoekstra says he's looking forward to a Republican-controlled House that would take a deep dive into what U.S. leaders and health officials actually knew about the virus.
When did they know it? And did they actually facilitate or assist the Chinese in this attack against the United States of America?
But hasn't this also, Congressman, hurt the Chinese government as well and their economy? It's not just the U.S. and parts of the world.
Oh, it sure has. But remember, we have different philosophies. Americans, we value life. We as Christians, we value every single life. In China, it's a throwaway. If they can move forward in taking down the United States of America, and it costs them millions of lives, they don't care.
They want to demoralize us because we're a free people, and they want to demoralize us because we're a religious people. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in the power of our Christian faith. We couldn't go to church, or we couldn't meet our neighbors, or we couldn't visit with family. That's the kind of thing that demoralizes a free people.
Members of the Team B3 group believe China may unleash another deadly virus in the future.
The Chinese, in their writings, their public speeches, they've said that biowarfare is something that they will consider, and it may be something that they will use. From our perspective, this COVID-19 is a test run as they increase their capabilities, increase their sophistication with bioweapons.
And the former House Intelligence Committee chairman warns Americans to wake up to the imminent danger.
We need to recognize the threat is real. The Chinese have used it, and they will use it again.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Coming up, worship leader and author Sean Feucht has released a documentary on the Let Us Worship movement. We'll hear what he told CBN's The Prayer Link about it when we come back. Sean Feucht is best known for his worldwide Let Us Worship tour, but he's also been busy writing new music and has just released a powerful documentary about the Let Us Worship movement. He joined this week's The Prayer Link program on the CBN News Channel to talk about the documentary and the worship movement.
First, what's the latest with Let Us Worship? Are you guys still touring?
Yeah, we actually, on Saturday night, we were in Syracuse, New York, and we had, I don't know, a couple thousand, probably 3,000 people gathered downtown. And it was just so powerful, a city that's been riddled with crime and destruction. And here we were, Christians, believers, celebrating Jesus and people getting saved, people getting healed. Next weekend, we'll be in Boise. The weekend after that, we'll be in Seattle, Spokane, then Austin, Philadelphia, New York City, and then we end the whole thing this year on October 22nd on the National Mall, D.C.
Let me just say that October 22nd is a great day because that's my birthday, okay? Let me just throw that out there. Sean, your documentary.
We're having a big Jesus birthday party for you.
Come on, Jesus. Yes, lift him up. Your documentary, Sean, is called Super Spreader, and it'll be in theaters September 29th. Let's take a really quick look at the trailer.
America's bedrock principle of religious freedom is being severely tested by the pandemic.
Singing has been banned at all church services in California.
We need to bend the curve.
I could feel something inside of me like we got to take a stand.
Christian singer and activist Sean Feucht leading what's called Let Us Worship.
This guy is probably responsible for hundreds of deaths.
We thank you, Lord, that there is another story that the media isn't telling. It is one of hope.
There's a pandemic, there's a plague. Here's a move of God that's going to change America.
The whole thing is fear, man. It's fear. It's intimidation.
Courage is taught when you see it. You can't teach it as principles. You have to see it modeled.
Christians are rising up. I'm telling you guys.
Light overcomes darkness every day.
This is not political. This is biblical.
Ooh, got chills.
Man, praise God.
Well, Sean, in your documentary, people actually accuse you of causing deaths because you held your events during the pandemic. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, first of all, regarding the documentary, we really felt like it was important to share both sides of the story. So there's a lot of trolls on there that hate me. There's bad, media that came against me, and they kind of share, their point, like exactly what you were saying. You were killing people. Well, we know that wasn't true because, there was no single outbreak of COVID related to any of our events, and that's kind of a spoiler because at the end we share that. But yeah, I felt like it was important to share, to let people see the journey that we were on. The people that were for us, the people that were against us, but yet in the midst of it, God was breaking out in every single city that we went to.
Wow.
Awesome.
And you're talking about why people should see your documentary next month. And what do you want them to take away from it when it's all said and done?
I think courage. I think courage and boldness. I want people to feel like empowered to know that even when they face resistance, and even actually sometimes the resistance is the very thing that proves that you're on your way to a breakthrough. I think a lot of times in America, Christians are not really used to pushback. We're not really used to resistance, but yet Jesus calls us into places where we're going to face resistance. And it's exactly what happened with us. Here we have this amazing harvest, this incredible, sweeping of revival that we were experiencing. But yet we have, Antifa attacking us. We have protesters, antagonizers. We have governors fining us. I mean, I still got court cases, guys, today that I got to pay from different cities we went to in 2020. So, but yet revival is happening, and it's undeniable. As you watch the film, you can see it happen all across America.
So September 29th, is this in theaters nationwide, and is it just one day only? It'll start on September 29th. Some theaters will have it that weekend. Some theaters will have it for a full week. It's basically, our heart is, it's going to be in 500 theaters. So AMC, Cinemark, and Regal, AMC, Cinemark, and Regal, and then some independent theaters. And we're going to see, this wave of revival that we experience across America is actually going to be in theaters. And we're going to try to plan to have an evangelist be in every single theater that it's shown in, so that at the end of the theater, people can get saved, get healed, get delivered. I mean, that's what we want to see happen.
And you can watch the prayer link this evening at 6:30 Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News channel or simply download the CBN News app. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and today I want to share this message of encouragement for you, and I hope you'll post, tag, tweet, and share it with those in your circles of influence. Change never comes in comfort. It comes in the uncomfortable. God allows it, and He will not give you peace and comfort in a place where you're simply not meant to stay. So get uncomfortable and embrace the change. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel or online at cbnnews.com at any time. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen today. Email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make it a terrific Tuesday and join us right back here, same time tomorrow.